All right, y'all. We are in day one of our retreat. All the topics today are about building your inner resilience. And interestingly enough, as I started thinking about this topic, I didn't just want us to talk about what's happening inside. I also wanted us to talk about what's happening on the outside, because that does have an impact on how resilient we actually are. I want us to have a conversation with a doctor, right? Because there are some things that we as women know that maybe we haven't learned enough about ourselves. I don't know about you, but I remember being a young adult woman and all the things that I was learning about my body. And now here I am at this midlife, and I'm approaching the change, as they say. And now I'm learning even more things about my body. So it's like the lessons that we learn about our bodies, they're constantly changing and shifting. There's so much more for us to know. And I wanted to know, how does our physical bodies have an impact on our resilience? So when I thought about who I wanted to have this conversation with, I immediately had Dr. T come to mind. Dr. Teresa Ayela-Uwangue came to mind. And I was like, I want to have a conversation with her about sleep, the power of sleep, because here I am at almost 50, and I'm learning about the power of sleep and how restorative sleep can actually be and help us build our inner strength. And so that's why today we got Dr. T as our guest for this conversation. So welcome to our virtual retreat, Dr. T.
Thank you so much for that kind welcome, and I'm glad to be here with everybody.
Yes, I was like, you are one of those people that you also have just like a very calming presence about you. I've had a conversation with a friend of mine who is one of your clients or patients. Which term do you use? Client or patient?
We'll use patience.
Okay, okay. So I have a friendship with one of your patients, and we were talking one day, and just when she was sharing like the support that you've given her and helping her with her hormones, because we have a lot of conversations these days about hormones. I was like, yeah, I would love to have this conversation with you. And so I want to give, first of all, I want to give them an opportunity to get to know you a little bit more. And before we kind of dive into the deep end of us talking about this, so would you share with them a little bit about who you are and how you became or why you became a doctor?
Certainly.
Mhm.
So, yes, I'm Dr. T, and I own and operate Healing Touch Direct Primary Care, which is a spin on the traditional model of medicine, where essentially I work directly with you to reach your wellness goals so that you, in turn, feel seen, heard, and understood. And to answer the question on why did I become a doctor, it was more than I want to help people, because you can be anything or do any profession and really help people. But for me, being a physician is the best use of my gifts to serve, and for me specifically to serve God. This is my ministry and this is where I operate. And so all of these gifts that I have, the intelligence, the ability to integrate, the gentleness, the calming presence that you have experienced, those are some of my gifts. And when I package them all together and say, how do I serve? It
Mhm.
says physician. And I wanted to be one since I was 8 years old, and I never let up. And here I am 18 years later, still operating.
Wow. I think it's rare that people know at such a young age what they want to be, and then they actually move in a path that gets them there. So let's take us to 8-year-old Dr. Teresa or Teresa back then, right? What was it about being a doctor that was so appealing to you?
I will tell you at age 8, I really don't know. And I tell people that this profession is a gift to me because I feel like it saved me.
Mm,
8-year-old Teresa was not happy. 8-year-old Teresa was traumatized. She was a depressed, sad child because of things that had happened. And I truly believe that God, knowing how who I am and how my brain operates, was like, no, I've got to put this on here now so that she'll have something to focus on and not the surroundings. Now, most gifts that you get, they don't always fit when you first get them, right? Like, it'll be Christmas time and, Aunt so-and-so will give you this humongous sweater and it's too big and all that. But then a couple years on down the line, that sweater fits. And you're like, oh, it was just this moment that I finally understood why I needed this. And that's
Mm.
really what happened to me along the years, is I may not have understood it. I just knew without a doubt that it was in me and I never let up. I never looked any other way but that way. And I really feel like it saved me.
Mm. When you think back to what did it save you from? Like, what do you imagine would have happened without having that purpose, that sense of purpose that you seem to have had at such an early age?
I know many people, when they go through trauma, they can fall into different patterns that can be, maladaptive to the body, to the mind. And I know in my family history, there are certain things that come along those terms. And I really feel that if
Mhm.
I didn't have this purpose that was already in me, if I didn't have that seed that God dropped in
Mhm.
here,
Mhm.
I totally feel like I wouldn't be a doctor. I feel like I probably would have fell into self-harm. I feel that I wouldn't have made it, knowing how I felt. And for several years after how not great I felt, I really don't think I would have come out of it had I not had something to pursue.
When you when you got to the age where you are headed to college, was there any question in your mind that that was what you were going to pursue?
Nope,
Okay.
no
You
question.
knew. You sound like our accountant. We have an accountant that she graduated from high school at 16, and
Mm.
she's always known that she wanted to be an accountant. Do you feel like, or has knowing that at such an early age given you a sense of purpose? Let me see. I think I want to ask that differently. In what ways do you think that knowing that at such an early age gave you a sense of purpose?
And I think it definitely gave me a purpose because there really weren't a whole lot of voices speaking purpose into me.
Mhm.
Like there wasn't that. There were a lot of people around and there was, encouragement and things around, but that strong, steady hand of encouragement, it wasn't always consistently there. And again, I just feel like if I didn't have that, oh, I'm going to be a doctor one day to help me go forward, I don't think I would have gotten here. It's like I knew that I just knew that I knew that I knew, period, that I'm
Mhm.
supposed to be a doctor. I didn't know what kind of doctor.
Mhm.
I didn't know which type. I thought I knew. But that ended up being about 50% right, actually. But I thought I knew. But again, that gift, the more it develops, the more you use it and the more you start getting into it. It might not fit, but you get into it. And that's what happened with me.
So when did it start to fit you?
I totally, when I was in high school, I was like, oh, for sure. Like, without a doubt, I'm going to medical school. Like,
Hmm.
everything just fell into place. And I wanted to be a pediatrician. I just knew that was going to be me. I was going to be a pediatrician, taking care of all the little children and all of those things. And that's all I thought about. I used to look up colleges that had just pre-med. And then I looked up like where were the medical schools that had the best pediatric residency programs. And this is me in high school, age 14, looking at stuff that'll happen at age 22, hopefully,
Hmm.
if I keep going consistently. And that's what I did. And my path to medical school, yes, I went all directly through. It was a little interesting there for a minute, but once I got to medical school, I found out that pediatrics was not all that I wanted to do. Mm-mm. Yeah, I needed a little bit more.
Wait, at what point did you start to decide or make the decision about the type of doctor that you were going to be?
My first year in medical school.
Hmm.
So, um, the type of medical school that I went to, they were very hands-on. Instead of the traditional, you do this class first, followed by this class by subjects. They do more of a systems-based where everything kind of in connects from like one core. So yes, we're learning, microbiology and genetics and all of those things, but you're doing it in a way that's problem-based instead of just the strict little boxes and things. And they also put you out in the community from day one. So you have a preceptor who pretty much lets you shadow them and see what they do. I was partnered with a Black woman physician, and that was my first time ever seeing a Black woman physician. That
Hmm.
was my first time seeing a Black physician, period. Now, Black
And how
physicians
old were
make
you
up
again? 22?
22,
Mm-hmm.
22.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Black physicians make up about 6% of all physicians. So you
Mm-hmm.
know it's not going to be, easy to spot one, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But less than 3% of those are actually women. So
Wow.
like she had my attention. I was like, whoa. And I with her all the time. And she was family medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go with her. And so family medicine doctors, they do it all, adults, children, they do a little bit of obstetric care and things like that. So often I would work with her and she just came off of, overnight shift delivering babies. And I'm like, this is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking, well, I'm like, I don't know that I want to deliver the babies. I want to be there for the babies. So that's when that type of physician, the family practice, got into my mind. And then that summer after medical school, I needed something to do. And there was another rotation where it was for a med peds clinic. And I had never heard of med peds. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
is that like two different people? No, it's one person. And these doctors, they took me under for a summer, and they let me work with them. They let me see patients with them. And the difference was, instead of having, the breadth that you get with family medicine training,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine, this was solely you did an internal medicine residency and a pediatric residency. They're two separate entities, but you do them at the same time concurrently. And there's no obstetrics involved. And for me, that was great because I just wasn't interested in that. I love women's health, but I just didn't want to deliver the babies because I feel like it needs its own training for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so to get the full depth of it, that appealed to me more. And so once I did that summer rotation, I was sold. I knew where I was going. I was
Mm-hmm.
done. I was done.
Yeah, that's great that having that real it's just nothing like having that real world experience and just being in there and getting to observe mentors and people, and then you can start to see where your passions are and what's valuable to you. When you know, for this series, we're talking about stress and we're talking about burnout and all the ways that women's health can actually be impacted when we are in situations where we have all these responsibilities. We are constantly caring for other people. We're not necessarily caring for ourselves. When you think about even those early days of your residency, is there anything that stands out in your mind about things you observed about how stress impacts people's lives that maybe they don't even realize?
I think, of course, I noticed that. And I noticed even in myself
Mm-hmm.
being always tired.
Mm-hmm.
Being always tired,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're so relentless about something, it's a good thing to be relentless, but there's, a consequence to everything, and consequences aren't always a bad thing. But, yes, being relentless, I got to my goal, I got to do all of the things, but I
Mm-hmm.
was ragged, I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
I gained a whole bunch of weight. First year of residency, the first 6 months, I will tell, no, first 3 months, I gained 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I had people that I went to med school, we all went to residency together, and they saw me, and, to see them go, that's stressful.
Yeah.
And so you're already in a situation where it's life and death. You got literally that kind of power in your hands at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. And now you're thinking, well, I would love to lose weight, but now I can't go to the gym because I'm working the 80-hour work week. And
Mm-hmm.
I would love to meal prep, but I'm working the 80-hour work week. And I'm just going to eat a bowl of cereal once a day. That's all I have time for. And of course, none of that is productive. And then back then you had the 24-hour on call, and then you had the 6-hour transition period. When am I supposed to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that now.
Mm-hmm.
But they've changed things now where that doesn't happen anymore. But it totally takes its toll. And then down the line, of course, not getting the sleep, not getting the recovery, not having the time to take care of your body, your spirit, your even your soul, not being able to do that. Of course, it sets you up
Mm-hmm.
and puts you at risk for heart disease and, makes you have migraines and headaches and impair your concentration and your memory. How can you be your best self if you haven't taken care of yourself, really? And so a lot of self neglect, oh, I'll get to that. Let me do this first type of
Mm-hmm.
behavior sets in. And again, that's part of being relentless. And again, there's a consequence to everything, but those are the trade-offs. And I wish so much that I had thought more about myself
Mm-hmm.
than the mission up front. It might have saved me a little bit of time, a little more experience down the line, but it's all for a purpose. But
Mm-hmm.
got to think about yourself and you have to be intentional about it.
What would you go back and tell that version of yourself, like the woman you are now today? What would you go back and say to her if you had the chance?
Take a break, pause.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to always keep going, Teresa. The
Mm-hmm.
work will get done when you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
The work is being done while you're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
The hospital is still open and closed and open while you go to church and while you get prioritized 1 or 2 days to go to sleep. Take advantage of those residency perks they give you and take care of yourself. Take a break.
What was it about that season of your life where you felt like you couldn't take a break?
Think it was like I wanted to be my best and I wanted to be my best for people, knowing that I'm going to be treating them. I wanted to make sure that I was at my best. And for me, that was I worked hard. I read the papers, I read the journals, I read the books, I showed up, I performed, and it's in there because you're not just learning to pass a test, like you're making new grooves in your brain type of things to really retain these things. And again, it's the mission of the best use of my gifts to serve people. Well, you can't lose sight of yourself in the mission if you don't take care of yourself. What do they say on the airplane? Make sure you get your mask together before you help other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And we know a lot of people in training. Sometimes they have to take a break in residency because they didn't have enough resilience or they didn't have enough of the self-care time. Things do fall apart. You take a break, you come back. Thankfully, God kept me where I was able to go all the way through. But I do wish I would have taken a little more time for me.
I wanted to be at my best.
Mhm.
That's what I heard you saying.
Oh, yes.
And you didn't associate the rest that you needed with
Nope.
being at your best.
Mm-mm. I did not.
Mm-hmm.
I only knew you have to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep learning, keep showing up. And you do, but there's always time to rest. And I'm like, oh no, I have to do the things. Yeah. I'm glad I will say, yeah, I was the chief resident and I worked hard for that designation. I did, but I still could have gotten that if I rested. The hospital was still open when I took a nap. And I never
Mm-hmm.
thought about that. Work was still being done when I took a little 2-hour power nap or whatever time I had. Yeah, that's good. I went to church today. I went to Bible study, and guess what? The hospital stayed open, and there were people to take care of those who crashed.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think of it like that. I was like, oh no, I got to be ready for the next thing. I got to be ready. I got to be ready. I got to be ready. always staying on that, keep moving. That's that flight or fight stimulus. That's
Mm-hmm.
that sympathetic nervous system input. So when we find those things, like that situation is like, okay, there's a bear in the corner. You better run for your life, right? Well, your body will tell your nurse will tell your body to do it, and then what gets released? Cortisol, your stress hormone. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what does cortisol do? It tells your muscles and it tells your liver and your other organs to put a little bit of sugar in here so the muscles can move where they need to. And of course, it's a short-lived reaction because now you've run away from the bear. Stimulus is gone, you calm down. But if you're always in a heightened state of stress, cortisol is always out there. Cortisol is always stimulating the body to put a little bit more sugar out into the system. Your body's going to be like, well, I can only use so much at a time. And now you've got extra glucose sitting in your bloodstream. So now what happens? Insulin comes out. Insulin removes it from the bloodstream. But keep in mind, insulin is a growth factor. It builds things. So now we're building fat stores because pretty much your body will partially turn glucose into fat and it stores it. It stores a storage form of glucose in your liver. So now I've got extra glucose and fat sitting in my liver. It's going right down to the front. This is how I ended up gaining 50 pounds in 3 months because I was so stressed,
Mm.
so stressed. And that was me. Literally, it was all in the belly. You know, I was sore all the time. I'm like, I didn't even work out. Why are my muscles sore? Because of the stress response, all that ongoing inflammation continuing to go and not shutting off. That's what happens.
Just like your smartphone needs regular charging, so do you. Without regular recharging, your energy and spirit can run out, leaving you feeling drained and ineffective. Join the Strong Her Leadership Coaching Cohort to build soul care habits that prioritize your well being. Nurture your inner self, not just to care for others, but to sustain your own health and happiness. Strengthen your capacity to lead with confidence and resilience. Prioritize yourself and see the difference it makes in your life and leadership. Learn more at strongher.me/leadership cohort. I'm thinking about all the women that are going to watch this that are in these professions where it's a very noble profession of
Yes.
you're loving on people, you're caring for them, you are pouring into them,
Mm.
but you aren't necessarily giving that to yourself or have other people giving that to you. And when they hear you talking about all the things that get triggered in your body because of stress, but yet it's like we don't see how we can stop that cycle because I think it is a cycle. Maybe we know better. Maybe we know that this is not okay and what we're feeling is not healthy for us, but we don't know how to stop the cycle. What are your thoughts about how do you stop that cycle of that triggers everything that you talked about because of the stress?
What I've learned of late is
Mm-hmm.
that I think a lot of us who are in these positions, in these noble
Mm-hmm.
professions,
Mm-hmm.
we don't talk about this enough. We don't talk about you
Mm-hmm.
can still be noble and powerful and change lives and rest. We don't talk about that. We just talk about we have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was talking to somebody and I'm just like, my mom never stopped moving.
Mm-hmm.
She was always doing. She was always doing and she was always on to the next. I'm telling you that I was not raised to sit down. I was not raised to rest. And I think a lot of us, that's all we know is we have to keep moving. If we don't keep moving, we're going to lose. If we're not going to keep moving, we're not going to make it. But the actual truth is, again, things are going to happen whether you're there or not. It's how you present yourself when you're there. Now, if I'm taking care of myself and I'm sleeping like I'm supposed to, and I'm managing my stress, I'm eating smart, not less, not excessively, when I'm doing physical activity, when I'm doing those pillars of health,
Mm-hmm.
that's how we can show up and be our best selves. but we don't talk about it enough. And so I think the first thing is when you feel like, or now you hear it like, you know what, I am doing, maybe I am going too hard, is to recognize it and understand that it doesn't diminish you to take a pause. It does not take anything away from your ministry, your mission, or anything for you to take a breath, to take a rest, because your mission will mean nothing if you're not there to propel it. And if you don't take care of yourself, somebody else will do it.
Mm.
Somebody
Your
else will do it.
mission will mean nothing if you're not there to propel it. Yes. Yes.
You have to be there to propel it. Now, yeah, you need help when you're in the ministry or in the movement
Mm-hmm.
if you use those people. And we all know how good I am about not using my surroundings. It's been a lesson learned. But look at how much further things are going to go for me now that I've employed help in that particular ministry that I'm referring to, that I know we've spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my objective to encourage the women to stand up in the women ministry, to be out here and fellowshipping. Now it's not all on me, but we're still reaching our endpoint, but we're including more people in that. How much more powerful are we going to be?
Yes.
Why not reach around and say, you know what, sister, I think that you are going to be an excellent person. Can you just come and read for us? I want you to read once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Come and just read the openings. I think you'd be so good at that.
Mm-hmm.
You've given somebody purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't have to sit here and find the scripture. I've given that person that job. You are going to find the scripture for week 2. But is the scripture still getting read?
That's
Yes.
right. That's
The
right.
scripture is still getting read, and she's encouraged, she's empowered, because that dopamine hit, that pleasure that you feel, the excitement,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to like how that feels. And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to keep on say, you know what? Why don't you bring your friend with you next time? Y'all can tag team it. Oh, what idea do you have? You know what? Go for it, sis. But the mission is still being fulfilled.
Yes.
We're advancing womanhood. We're coming together. We're knitting together. We
Mm-hmm.
are growing. And I'm not stressed out. I'm going to bed.
Yes. I'm going to bed.
I'm
And
going to bed.
I really liked this example that you just used about giving her this specific task to do
Specific.
that. And the reason why I liked that specific example, because it was something small. And I think this is what happens. We
Mm,
think, oh, it doesn't take that much time. I'll get it. I'll do it. Like
mm,
I got it. Like, I'll be the one to bring this, I'll bring the rolls, I'll set up, you can have it at my house and you can, we think these little things, to us they seem like little things, but then they start adding up. I can't tell you, this is gonna sound like a silly example, but I remember when I first started to slowly get a hold on some of what you're saying, and I would have people come to our house for, we would open up our homes to different families and stuff. And I remember when people would ask, "Can I bring something?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, you can," right?
yes, you
And
can.
it would be like, let's say a bag of ice. I remember thinking, delegating that to someone else to bring, it's like, oh, it's a bag of ice. You could have got that yourself. But then I remembered as I'm preparing my house and all this stuff, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I didn't have to go to the store to get that bag of ice because this person just brought it with them. So that was one less thing I had to do. And to me, I think that for all of us as women, there's all these little things that we keep saying, oh, well, it doesn't take that long. Oh, I'll do it. I got that. And number one, those little things add up.
Yes.
Those little things add weight on your mind that you now have to focus on getting that done. And even more important than that, when you said you gave this person a sense of purpose by trusting them to take on something that you didn't want to take on, couldn't take on, didn't need to take on because they were perfectly capable of taking it on themselves.
Mm,
And I think that that's one of the things that I'm taking away from what you're saying about how do we stop this cycle is we learn how to allow other people to get involved. We include more
Yes.
people. Like that's the way you said it. We include more people so we don't think that we have to get everything done ourselves.
No, absolutely. Even so I'm getting ready to do this walking event
Hmm.
in the coming, well, tomorrow actually. And one thing I say is that there are power in numbers.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm walking for a specific purpose, but I'm sure there are other people who want to do the
Hmm.
same thing.
Hmm.
Well, if I'm supporting you and you're supporting me and each one brings one, how much further along our wellness path could we get if we were by ourselves?
Hmm.
And I think would go back in what you were saying with, all these little small things. Some people get lost on if it's not a big thing, it's not worth doing. Well, if you're not able to do said mission and it's a big thing, well, again, it's not going to go nowhere.
Hmm.
And there's power in the small things too,
Hmm.
right? My husband always says, if you're going to do something, do it well.
Yeah.
Don't bring ice and then do it sloppy.
Hmm.
Like, don't bring ice and half the bag is water. Like,
Hmm.
that's not gonna work. Don't bring me a dingy bag of ice.
Hmm.
If you're gonna bring the ice, make sure that you time it when you pick it up. It's gonna be still frozen. You're gonna bring the ice cooler bag and you're gonna show up to Miss Kendra's house and you're gonna say, "Hey, sis, I got the ice." And you're gonna say, "Oh, where do you want it? Okay, can I load that for you?" You come and you do it well. You do it well. You don't just come in and say, "Well, I left it outside." No. Well,
Hmm.
what's the point? I got water
Hmm.
here too.
Hmm. Hmm.
But if you're going to do something small or large, you have to do it well. And if small is where you're operating, there's no shame in that. I am
Yes.
in one room here in my clinic. That is more than enough space for what we do. I'm not meant right now to have this big 5,000 square foot complex of stuff. That's not where the mission is right now. The
Hmm.
mission is able to be fulfilled in this one room with one person. I have to do the small. I've done the big things that burnt me out.
Hmm.
And I've learned now I can still do the big thing, the using the best my gifts and using it to serve. I can do that on the smaller scale right here in one room. And that's how we have to proceed. Do it
And
well.
that to me is another way we stop that cycle is don't despise small beginnings. Don't despise the
Mm-mm.
small things, the things that seem insignificant. Don't despise those. So that even brings me back to us talking about sleep because you've talked about the importance of rest and that there's always time for rest. And I think that sleep is one of the most overlooked fundamental things that we need to be healthy. And I feel at this age is when I'm just now learning the true value of sleep. Like I'm trying to have these conversations right now with my 15-year-old about the
Yes,
importance of sleep because teenagers, I don't even think they realize how much sleep they actually need. Now they realize it on the weekends when they sleep all day, but
facts.
during the week, I'm actually trying to get him to go to bed earlier because I'm like, you need sleep. And then for me talking to myself, Kendra, you need sleep. So I would love for you to talk to us about what are the mental health benefits that we get from making sure when we're getting the right amount of sleep.
It's so important. And it's something that, for me, is like the fifth vital sign. Like,
Hmm.
ask any of my patients and they will tell you we spend time in here talking about sleep. Yes, I'll get your temperature and your pulse and your blood pressure and all
Hmm.
that. And then I
Hmm.
will ask you, how's your sleep?
Hmm.
I will ask and I'll ask you how long. And they will be like, why are you asking all this stuff? I'm gonna ask you, where is your bed in your bedroom? Where are your windows in proximity to your bed? Which way are they facing? They're like, why are you asking this stuff? Well, it comes out later why I was asking because I know if you're not sleeping, one of those pillars of health is sleep. If you're not sleeping, your body is not resting. Now, there are stages of sleep, right? And
Hmm.
we probably heard of like REM sleep, and then there's non-REM sleep, right?
Hmm.
So REM meaning rapid eye movement. That's what's happening, when your lids are closed. There's movement that's happening, right? But you need that rest because those two stages of sleep, they are employed to do different things. You can think about it with non-REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is what allows your body to recover. Now there's three stages of them and they're really fascinating and I would love to do a whole like lecture about each stage. But that's where really the physical body gets a chance to rest.
Hmm.
And not, I say I don't mean just the muscles and the bones. We're talking about the immune system. The immune system needs to rest. It needs to repair itself. That's something that can be disturbed when you are not getting enough rest. People getting sick all the time. Why do I keep on getting this so-called viral infection? I'm feeling all, runny nose and I'm always feeling congested and sore and I'm always feeling like I'm sick. You're not resting and your body isn't having a chance to replenish the immune system, right? There's
Hmm.
other things, your emotions, your memory, those parts of the brain that are controlled in
Hmm.
a sense by those hormones that come out during sleep. That's where some of what they get their repair time from. I don't know if you saw the movie Inside Out
I
too.
did. I keep
Ooh,
everybody has been talking so
listen,
much about that movie. Yes,
I'm
yes.
going to do a whole sermon about that in a couple weeks here. But literally, if you remember early on when Riley gets sleepy,
Hmm.
you see all of the emotions. They're all like shutting down, and they all go to their little pods and they all go to sleep.
Hmm.
Your emotions need to rest.
Shut
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
I don't think I have
Listen,
ever thought about that before.
that part of the movie, I stood up and I was like, yeah. I thought, let me sit down before they put me out this movie theater because I was like, yes, your emotions need time to rest. That part of the brain where emotions even come from, they need to rest. Always being snappy and irritable and you flying off at the handle. Well, why are you doing that? You don't think you're anxious, you don't think you're depressed, and maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But if you had a full night of sleep and that area of the brain that controls that could actually rest, it might help, right?
Mhm.
There's so many things. Your all of those things help. Your concentration, the part of the brain that deals with that, all of that has to rest. The physical part happens usually in the non-REM, and that typically be like maybe the first 90 minutes or so of your
Mhm.
sleep. And it will keep happening. So if you look at someone when they're sleeping, we have them on the computers, it'll go back and forth between non-REM and REM. Now, REM or the rapid eye movement sleep, that's that what they call the deep sleep. Right? That's where you're dreaming. That's where the brain part, that's where the other parts of the brain get to rest and shut off and do its things. Your brain needs time to really get a chance to go all the way to sleep deeply. And the other part of your sleep already paralyzed your muscles, so you can't be acting out your dreams that you're having. That's another sleep disorder that can pop up. But that's what that part of sleep is for. So if you're looking at somebody and they're not concentrating, sometimes they're just not able to comport. They just really can't do those executive functions. If you really get down to it, they probably aren't having enough sleep because that part of the brain just did not have time to repair. It's so true and it's so fascinating. Even when it comes to those who have diabetes and high blood pressure and you've got all this
Mhm.
pain in your body, people will come and they'll have these bags of medicines. And I'm like, I'm not even looking at that. And one person was like, how come we're not going to my bag of medicine? I'm like, because I don't need to go through all that because that's not your problem.
Mhm.
If you could go to sleep,
Mhm.
because the sleep is going to be the problem. If you're able to sleep well and let your body rest, the inflammation that's going on with always going, 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 inflammation is such a huge implication in health. If we can calm that down, then I can remove some of those medications from your list. But if I can't get to the root of why, we're going to be here all day, literally.
Yeah.
And so we have to get to the root. That's what I care more about doing. I want to get to the root. And if the root is sleep, then that's what we focus on. And again, people don't think about it. Like you said, people aren't thinking that sleep is so important. So
Mhm.
you really, really do need to pay attention to sleep. And how much sleep you need varies per age. Our
Mhm.
teenagers, I've got one now, help us, Lord. Our teenagers, they don't think so. Well, on the weekends, they do. They need to get at least 10, 12 hours of sleep.
Yes.
They
Yes.
really do. And I will say, since my kids were out of that little baby stage, age 4, I'm like, nope, bedtime is 8 o'clock because you got to get up at 8 o'clock
Mhm.
to get your day going.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
Even now, hey, you guys still need 10 hours of sleep minimum. Bedtime is
Yes.
9 o'clock.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
now it's 8 because the alarm clock is at 5:30. So I'm like, no, that's not enough.
So
Start winding down.
what do you suggest for people that have a hard time falling asleep? Like, what
I
are
would
some
say
of the
that.
suggestions?
I would say for those who have a hard time falling asleep is first, I'll get to the medical part of what you need to pay attention, but
Mm-hmm.
just in the environment itself,
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to what's in the environment. Again, if your bed is like facing the window, like where you're going to be able to see it directly, you might want to, cover that up a little bit. Make sure that the area is, really dark when it's time to go to sleep. That's that whole sleep hygiene thing. When you know about 30 minutes to an hour of when your set bedtime is and you need to have a set bedtime, that's when you start to turn down lights, quiet down, turn off or turn down TVs, set the atmosphere so that sleep can start. The hormone melatonin in your brain that induces sleep, it is triggered by darkness. So when the sun goes down, when the lights go down, your body is already being triggered to, oh, it's time to go get in that bed. So we need to do our best to do that. Now, if we're in the bedroom, I say keep electronics out of the bedroom. The bedroom is for rest and relaxation. That's not, some people get that relaxation from their phone, but it's doing the opposite. It's activating a part of the brain that stimulates awakeness. And also, if you're looking at your phone and you're liking that reel that you're looking at, again, that dopamine hormone, that excitability hormone, that comes out and it makes you awake. So that's why you can sit there all night long and be on there sending reels to people and you up here and you reading all these things. And like lo and behold, man, it's 4 a.m. and I ain't been to sleep yet
Mm-hmm.
because you ignored the bypass signals and your hormones have now kept you awake. So make it dark, keep the electronics out of your room, and really avoid it like maybe the hour before bedtime. Try to avoid the blue lights. There are blackout shades that you can use that can really help to minimize that and the sound. You can use a sound bar, a barrier at the base of your door to really keep sound down,
Mm-hmm.
but really controlling the atmosphere to keep it quiet and dark and cool. Your body likes to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Comfortable meaning for the body like 60, 65 degrees. Now, some of us need it a little colder. We ain't gonna fight about that. That's okay. Some of us like it to be a little warm, but really that little 60 to 65-degree temperature,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the body is comfortable, literally, from the studies, is what they say. I know that's not true for me.
Right. I don't need it that cold. I
Nah,
would be shivering.
no.
One of the things I do is music. So there
Mhm,
is instrumental music, and I actually have a song, and it's an instrumental song, and it's called Rest. That's the name of the song. And
mhm,
I have even used that song when I'm in seasons where there's a lot happening in my day. And I just need a 15-minute power nap. Like you said, I'll make everything dark in my bedroom, which is hard to do because I have a lot of sunlight in my bedroom, but I'll make everything dark and I will put that music on. And I probably should give me like some little, the little things for your eyes and
mhm.
all that stuff. And I will set a timer and I will literally take a 15-minute nap. And that's something that
Perfect.
has helped me to get refreshed during the day.
And that's perfect. That's like the siesta, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Mhm.
And that actually is the perfect time frame because we know if you sleep longer than that, like once you get past 30 minutes, well, non-REM has happened and you're going
Mhm.
to start dipping off into deep sleep. And then you're going to sleep for about a good 2 hours. And that grogginess that follows is not meant to happen in daytime, but that 15, 20-minute power nap, there's
Mhm.
science behind that of why you feel that way. So you can do your 15 minutes and you can come up and you feel refreshed. You don't feel like, oh man, I just need 5 more minutes. You've had enough.
Mhm.
And that's the perfect time. I would not go longer than that. And that's the
Yeah.
perfect time,
And
science
that's
wise.
something you can even do in your car. Like if you need to walk outside during the day and get away from that environment, like you said, turn some of that stimulus down, go sit in your car where it's quiet. You're not listening to a podcast or the
Mm-mm,
news, right?
quiet.
Yeah, it's just the quietness, the the calm, the solitude. Dr. Teresa, I want us to talk just briefly, because I'm
Mhm.
going to wrap up our time together. I want us to talk about the pillars of health, because you mentioned that a couple of times, and you said that sleep is just one of the pillars. What are the other pillars of health that we need to be thinking about?
Sleep definitely is the one.
Hmm.
Then there's going to be stress management, how we deal with that. Then there's going to be eating, nutrition.
Hmm.
There's that one. And then there's going to be physical activity. Those are the main ones that I tend to drill on. Some people have five pillars, some people have six. But when
Hmm.
you get down to it, to me, those are the ones that I really like to drill on the most to make sure that when we're talking about wellness, we need to get those, at least those four in.
Is there anything in stress management that you would want us to know in terms of how you cope with stress in healthy ways?
Mm-hmm. How I cope with stress in healthy ways. So, I really, really like to advocate for mental health services in the way of therapy.
Hmm.
You know, seeing a therapist and not even so much thinking that, oh, I got to see a therapist, I got something wrong with me. No, mental health is for the healthy too.
Hmm.
Like people come to see me for their physical, right? They're
Hmm.
healthy. I'm
That's
just helping
right.
you maintain it. So
That's
why
right.
not treat your mental health the same?
Hmm.
I feel like mental health psychiatry is a specialty and a primary care. So there we're all working together. Having someone that you can go to, like in a therapy session, can be very helpful to manage your thinking, how you cope with stimuli that is stressful. That can be helpful for sure. And trying to get in touch with things that you know bring you pleasure and make time for those things.
Hmm.
One of my friends, she taught me this acronym called SPA, and I
Hmm.
literally have it on my calendar.
Hmm.
I sent a picture of it to her, and she loved it.
Hmm.
But it's called SPA time, and she recommended at least an hour. Try to do something smart, something physical, and something affirming.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay. So I can do something smart by simply reading a book that I like or listening to my audiobooks while I'm sitting on my Peloton bike, cycling gently
Hmm.
to one of those outdoor rides or something like that. And then when I'm done, I'll start saying affirmation. I have an affirmations app and I'll sit there and I'll say them.
Hmm.
Or sometimes I'll just sit quietly in a room and I'll just start writing positive things. But that brings pleasure to me.
Yes, yeah. So
That
that's the
makes me
way that you
happy.
manage your stress.
That's
And
how I
so
do it.
thank you for sharing that. We actually are interviewing her as a part of this series as well. So
Oh.
y'all will hear more about her spa method.
Spa time.
Yes. And what I like about you sharing that is that it is something simple that you
Very
can
simple.
do as a practice on a regular basis, because so much of this is about our habits and what are we practicing, what are we doing. And I think that everything that you shared today, I really wrote down so many things from what you were sharing. And when you talked about us being relentless, that just resonated so deeply with me.
Mm,
And, I just want to say to the women that are watching this, pause this video like throughout the week as you are going through this series. Pause when you need to pause and let some of this information sink in for you. And if you think about yourself, have you been relentless in the pursuit of your mission? And now Dr. Teresa has given all of us permission to rest. One of the things that she said was there's always time to rest. And she really broke down for us the importance of that rest. And that rest does involve sleeping. It does involve us actually going to sleep and getting the sleep that we need and setting up our environment. So I just want to thank you, Dr. Teresa. I would love for you to share what is, if a person is watching right now and they're like, I need to talk to Dr. T. How would they do that? And anything else that you want them to know about connecting with you, anything that you offer in support of them?
Excellent. I would love to speak to anybody. I'm definitely available. They can go to my website. It's www.healingtouchdpc.com.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you'll leave that
Mm,
link for them.
I
But they
absolutely
can,
will.
and they can go there, and there's a spot where you can click meet and greet with Dr. T. It's a no cost obligation. You can sit and talk with me. We can go over and talk about things further. We can talk about, how my practice works, how it may work for you. And if I can't help you, again, I'm here to serve. I will help direct you where you need to go. No obligation. I'm willing to do that. And you can also always call my office during, of course, business hours, and we'd be happy to obligate that. One other thing that we're doing right now in wellness is walk with the doc. That's me. So every Friday morning, I'm going to be at the Chandler Mall walking because I've got some wellness goals that I'm trying to meet. And I would encourage people to think of wellness as a daily practice. You have to practice being well, and you got to be intentional about it. So I'm going to be out there every Friday morning walking towards my wellness goals. And again, there's power in numbers, and everybody is invited to come with me. So we'll be at the mall 8:45 startup time. Meet by the entrance by the Cheesecake Factory, and I'll be there, and we're going to start walking.
All right. So if you are local, then you can go on a walk with Dr. Teresa Ayela-Uwangue every Friday,
Every Friday.
every single Friday, and you can get that support that you need to that or the community, right? That
Hmm.
community,
We're
us
out there.
coming together. So thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. T. I am so grateful to have had your voice to be able to share with us. I'm taking a lot away from this conversation for myself.
Well,
So
I
thank you.
appreciate that. I appreciate being here, and I just appreciate you making space for me with this platform. I really appreciate it.